Yeah, I think Europe and Central Asia and also Eastern Europe is a very diverse region. We work in 18 program countries and territories in the Western Balkans, in Caucasus, and in Central Asia, and in Eastern Europe as well. So the sub-regions are very different, and the farm structures are very different. So this also means that the situation and the conditions for family farming is very different in the different countries. In the Western Balkans, family farms are small. They are typically around 3 to 4 hectares, some of them smaller. And they have land that is significantly fragmented. So it's very difficult to be productive and compete. In the Western Balkan countries, the big policy objective for the countries is the EU accession. So it is very important to use the years until accession to get the farm structures and get the family farms that are dominating the farm structures, get them fully ready to compete in the EU internal market when they will have access in hopefully a few years. Yeah, we see quite an interest related to support policy related to family farming, and FAO in the region has supported 3 countries in preparing national action plans. In Kyrgyzstan, the national action plan is already prepared and adopted, while the process is ongoing still in Republic of Moldova and in Albania. So we hope we will finish within the next year or so in Albania, and that it will also be adopted there. And we see this as an important tool feeding into the overall agricultural and rural development strategies, so ensuring the voices of the small farms in the policy formulation. Yeah, no, that is also very important, because the other hat that I have in FAO is that I'm a land tenure officer in the regional office, and we work on access to land of young farmers, women farmers, but also on trying to help the countries to improve these farm structures. And we have again a very diverse situation in some countries. In particular in Central Asia, there is high pressure on getting access to land because the populations are young, and there are many people in rural areas competing on getting access to land and other natural resources. While in other parts of the region, for example in the Caucasus or Western Balkans, the situation is the opposite. We have aging rural population and aging farmers, and we see young people out migrating from rural areas, and we also see that suitable agricultural land increasingly is becoming unutilized, abandoned, which is a big problem, and also a problem that has political focus to increase local production, which is good in many ways. One of the issues that we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, not always to be able to rely on international trade, and the importance of producing food locally, and in this way strengthening the local development, the local rural development. In Central Asia, when you ask about access to land, the state is owning the agricultural land in 4 of the 5 Central Asia countries. And here the problem is that the small farms have difficulties to get access to more land, for example. The state land is tendered out in transparent processes, but the criteria to be eligible is seen like the most efficient are getting access to land. So this favorizes very much the large-scale production, which by the governments in many countries in Central Asia are seen as more efficient than the small farms, which is not fully correct, but it is a big problem that small farms are seen more like a social arrangement than farms and somebody that is producing while we know that the small farms are producing the majority of the food that is consumed also in those countries. So there is a big contradiction that we need to address. Policies are connected very much to what I already mentioned on the national action plans, and there is an interest, but it is also a struggle to motivate countries to have specific focus on the small farms. Some countries are now, in particular the countries in the Western Balkans, they are now in the process where they are preparing to and aligning their legislation and the agricultural support with the EU Common Agricultural Policy. And that means that there are many of the small farms that at the moment are not eligible for any kind of support because they are informal, for example. They cannot document that they have the ownership of the land or that they have the formal use rights. So in some countries this means that only a small percentage, if they do not address this problem, will be eligible for the support, and that will of course further escalate a structural development that those farms that are already large will be even bigger while the small farms will develop. What we really need in the region is to support the development of small family farms to become commercial family farms, so that they can compete. Farms similar to the farms that are the backbone or in the EU countries, where the average farm size is 17 hectares. So we see this pluralistic or polarized farm structures, where there are very many very small farms in many countries and few very large farms. What really needs to be developed are the farms in the middle, let's say small commercial family farms. They have a great potential in Europe and Central Asia, in particular if they specialize the production in high-value crops, if they have access to water, like planting orchards, investing in the farms also. And again, if you have secure land rights, then you're also more interested in and more motivated to invest in your farms. We are supporting many countries to introduce land consolidation instruments and land banking, or use the state land that already exists. We have done extensive work on this area, for example, in North Macedonia, where 40% of all agricultural land is still owned by the state. And in principle, they are interested to privatize it, but it should be privatized in a way that those who are already, let's say, farming small farms should have a priority to get access to this land, so that they can develop into commercial family farms. And we have good success with that. So in a project-based approach, supporting between the landowners and the farmers, negotiating a new parcel layout so that they will have much fewer parcels, they will have better shaped parcels, and they will have access to agricultural infrastructure, roads, drainage, irrigation. And in this way, we directly increase the productivity and also the competitiveness of those farms that participate. And yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in this in other countries in the region. We are starting new projects on this, also in Albania, in Montenegro, in Georgia. We have done work on this in Azerbaijan and Armenia as well. So quite many countries are interested